Hello, and welcome back to Creating Under Quarantine. I'm Anina Collier, Dean of the Center for Creativity in Tulsa, Oklahoma, USA. And I am so happy to be here with one of our exhibition artists, Johnnie Diacon. Johnnie, welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us here today. Can you please introduce yourself? Tell us where you live, a little bit about yourself, and how long you have been isolating.
Okay. Johnnie Diacon, Joho Jeffkados. Istama skogi omes. La flako I do Roma. Ito ogi doyes. Doors Oklahoma legados. Johnnie Diacon. I'm a Muskogee Creek Indian. My tribal town Slop Flocko. I'm a Creek Indian, and I'm a member of the Deer Clan, and I live here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I've been painting
Wonderful.
for a little over 40 years.
Over 40 years. Wonderful. And
40
thank
years.
you for sharing some words in your language with us. Thank you very much. So can you tell us a little bit about how the pandemic has impacted you, your family, your community?
Well, you know, I was fortunate enough. I didn't lose much income from my job. They let us stay at home, and they paid us while we were at home. I did go in. I work for a school district here, and I did go in once a week for 5 hours a day, and I was by myself, just kind of doing some loose ends. But, you know, we were kind of worried about how long that money was going to hold out, how, you know, serious this virus was going to be, you know, at the beginning. So I didn't do much artwork during that first period. I had plenty of free time to do my artwork. But, you know, that uncertainty about, you know, what was going to happen kind of had me on edge. You know, my wife was working from home, and our son who lives with us, he's in high school. You know, he didn't have to go back to school. They were doing homeschooling. So it took me about a week, and I was thinking about people around me, you know, our tribal members out there, older people, and I heard about how this is affecting older people. I thought, well, you know, these older people, our elders, are pretty important to us. You know, a lot of times they're the last bastion of language preservation. They're you know, culture bearers. They're keepers of our culture. They pass traditions down. A lot of times in family situations, they're the main caregiver for the youth. So I thought, you know, and they're vulnerable. And so that if my first painting, I wanted to do something kind of, you know, how that virus made me feel at that time. Like there was another invader coming into our land, you know, and it was a threat to our people. And so that first painting I did, it kind of had a weird, as my wife said, kind of a science fiction vibe, you know, kind of like those Invasion of the Body Snatcher kind of feel to it. You know, I did an older couple, and they're standing in this, just standing side by side, and that iconic image of that coronavirus you see everywhere now, that little blue-gray with the red little bumps all over it. You know, I did those, and they were just kind of like floating throughout the scene, you know, all around it. I did that. And I got that out, and I thought, well, you know, I did a painting, and I felt good. I worked around the house some, and then, you know, it kept going on, and I heard more news, and that's when I did this painting that's in the show. I was reading about all the healthcare workers, especially out in the Southwest with the Navajo Nation, where they really got hit hard, you know, out in Indian country. Thinking about all the nurses and the doctors that are out there working. And so that's why I went back. I've been, my art, to give a little history of my art, I paint several different styles. I studied art at Bacone College in Muskogee, where I studied that flat traditional style, that old style of painting, the Bacone School, as they call it. So I feel very close to that, because that's the first art that I got used to, you know, as an artist. So I wanted to do a painting like that. And kind of based on the old Quincy Tahoma painting. It was a buffalo painting, a buffalo hunt. The Navajo artist Quincy Tahoma. I think it was called in the Days of Plenty, I believe it was. But it's an iconic picture of a buffalo hunt, and there's a hunter on a horse. And he's hunting a buffalo, and the buffalo's reared up. He's, about to bring it down. So I wanted to do something like that, but I wanted to use, but instead of a buffalo, I wanted that coronavirus, and I wanted to, instead of a warrior or a hunter, I wanted it to be a nurse or a doctor, a healthcare worker. And so I did it with a horse, and I put the healthcare worker in, the PPE, the personal protective equipment that they wear. Did it in that flat style, and so he's got a bow and he's bringing down that coronavirus, and in the background there's one with a spear and he's hunting down more like a buffalo herd, but it's herd of coronaviruses. And so I wanted to do a tribute, because they're like warriors out there. They're taking care of the people, and they're putting the needs of the people over their own needs, to battle this and to take care of the people. And I wanted to do something to kind of pay an homage to the Quincy Tahoma, the old painters, and then the people. And I like to bridge that gap with, doing that old style painting, that flat style, with modern day things. It's kind of like bringing it back, like a lot of artists are doing the ledger paintings now, the old style or ledger artwork and doing that. And so that's what I did with that one. And
yeah, it's such a striking mix of, as you called, an older style of painting, and then this very modern phenomena and a very modern person in PPE. And it is a really striking work, and we are just so fortunate to have it in the exhibition.
I'm really glad it's got out there, because I wanted to make prints of it and to do more with it, to help with funding on some of the stuff, maybe sell prints to help raise some money to donate. But at the time I was stuck at the house, and my printer was closed. I haven't been able to do anything with it. And I didn't even really get a good picture of it, because I had to take it with my little tablet, because I didn't have a good camera or anything. And, it's one of the ways that it's kind of affected me in my art. I've done a lot of art, but it hasn't left the house. A lot of the shows have gotten canceled that I normally do this time of the year as well.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, and I'm sure as soon as this is over, your work will just be out everywhere and everyone can experience it. We were saying, you were chatting a little bit before we started recording this interview that, nobody really expected the isolation to go on for as long as it has. And you thought at first you do a few COVID related pieces, but you didn't want to become the COVID guy, is what you said. What the art, this piece was created a few months ago now. What kind of artwork are you doing at this point? And what do you expect your artwork to look like over the next few months, assuming that, we stay in this isolated state?
Well, I did a couple more pieces during that, as the time went on. And I went through phases, kind of evolved. First I was thinking of the elders, and I did that piece. And I was thinking of the healthcare workers, so I did that piece. And then as time went on, I got a little angry. I was thinking, well, what put us in this predicament? And so I did a political piece. And so it was more of and it was a different style. It wasn't the flat style. I went to the Institute of American Indian Arts. It's one of the places where I studied art. And so I decided I was going to use a more contemporary style, something more political, and so I did one, and I based this, and this is just my own personal opinion, and I know some may not agree with me, but I put the blame, from what I understand, directly on the mismanagement of the government. It's particularly one person, how this virus started. They were aware of it. They didn't take correct measures, and it grew. And so when I did it, I took this certain person's face and I made it into a skull, because he kind of in turn represented death. So I'll give you a clue. This skull's orange. I'll give you kind of a clue. And it's got that hair. And what he's in front of, this skull, is in front of like an American flag. in the background. I replaced the stars on it with little skulls. Instead of white stars, it's skulls. And the red and white bars are going across. There's red skulls worked into the red bars and white skulls into the white. And then there's that coronavirus again in different sizes, like it's floating through. And so I called that one, and I named it after one of his famous phrases, is I took no responsibility at all. And I named it COVID-45. And so that was that's my political piece that during that part where I was angry. So, as an artist, sometimes we don't just paint pretty pictures. A lot of times, sometimes they're a little gritty. Sometimes a little anger comes out. Some people may not like that piece. Some people may love it. That's up to them. That came from me, and that's how I feel. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, well, there's other pieces of artwork out there, But that's one of my responses to this situation, the third one. The fourth one, I did a little later. This before I actually got a little more daring, a little more out into public, a little more, other than just the weekly trips to the grocery store. It's called Going for Groceries During the Time of the Pandemic. And what it is basically kind of almost a self-portrait of me. And I did this one in oil, but it's mainly an Indian man. I'm wearing my hat that I usually wear a lot, a jacket, but I've got a mask on my face. The background's a little different. It doesn't look like a background you see. It almost look like a post-apocalyptic background with the colors I use and everything. But that's kind of the feel I wanted. Things have changed. You just don't go to the grocery store or go out like you used to. And when you do, you have to take precautions. And so when I got that out, I did that one just before everything opened up, and there was the demonstrations, about opening everything back up. This was even before the mask controversy we're going through now. I did that, and I did those 4 paintings, and I thought, I ran the gamut on these COVID paintings. These are what I went through during that, little over a month of isolation. And I thought, well, I've smoked my piece, and I've expressed myself, and I don't want to do too much more in it, because I don't want everybody to say, oh, he's all he can do is these COVID paintings, like you said, the COVID guy. I don't want to. And so I left it at that. But as the pandemic continues, things change. I'm sure there'll be more pieces come out. I've been thinking about working on a series on police brutality. I do a lot of artwork, a lot of mainly on my tribe, the Muskogee. I do a lot of paintings of ceremonies and everyday life, and so. But sometimes I do these political pieces, and I just feel like as an artist, I've got so much to say, and also being a native artist, I'm kind of a record keeper, and I like I'm putting out these pieces, and I want them to be accurate and tell a story of a time period that we're living in now, because they'll be around a lot longer than I'll be around. And so I want to make them very accurate and a record of what, is going on for us today, and a general feel. So that's how the pandemic has affected this part of my life. I mean, life in general affects my work, how it goes. And this is just another part of that life, or another thing that's happened that has affected my life that I've added into my artwork.
Well, it's great to see the diversity of subject matter of your work, and thank you so much for creating that record, as you say, of the times that we're going through now. And we can't wait to see what you create in the next months and years. And we hope you'll be a part of the next Center for Creativity exhibition, hopefully in person next time. Johnnie,
well,
thank
right
you
now,
so much for.
You're welcome. Right now I'm working for Oklahoma State University. I'm working on a graphic novel for them, writing the story and doing the artwork. It's based on the Chilocco Indian School. It's going to be a 32-page graphic novel. And so that's what I'm working on right now. So that's something that's not COVID related. But,
well, that's fantastic. We can't wait to see that when that's ready.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, sir. Well, you can see Johnny's work as well as works by dozens of other artists until the end of July at the Center for Creativity Facebook page. That's centerforcreativity.tulsa.com. Johnny, do you have a website or anything you'd like to share with us?
Oh, it's just on Johnnie Diacon Art on Facebook, and on Instagram it's at Johnnie Diacon Art. JOHNNIEDIACON.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. Great talking to you. Stay safe.
Thank you very much. You too.